Okay, parkrun is brilliant, but too many runners treat it like an isolated race too frequently, and that wrecks their weekend training. Today, I'm going to show you how to turn parkrun into a serious part of your training plan without it killing your long run or key sessions, so that it improves your training and helps you get the most out of your training whilst you're still able to turn up to parkrun and get that social side from running. If your primary goal is to run a faster marathon, to smash your half marathon PB, or run your fastest 10K time, then parkrun needs to fit into that bigger picture. But that doesn't mean skipping it. It just means using parkrun smarter. I used to do this a lot and I loved it. And if you're the type of runner who thrives off competition and structure and you like to run hard on Saturdays, then instead of parkrun just being part of your long run, we can flip it and make parkrun day into your interval day. It's a brilliant way to combine that race day energy and that race day simulation with high quality training. I'll show you exactly how to do it step by step. I'm Grantham, a coach and a professional ultra runner who went from running a marathon in 4 hours and 25 minutes to running a marathon in 2 hours and 21 and representing my country at both the marathon and the ultra marathon. If you're at a point with your training when you know you're capable of running way faster times, but you just don't know how to get there and want the guidance from a professional, then get in contact by booking a call in the description. I'm going to give you 4 specific sessions that you can use to turn your parkrun into a high quality session that feeds into your bigger A goal. But first, here are 7 ways that you can optimize those sessions, get the very most out of each one of those sessions consistently on a week by week basis so that you're moving in a much smarter way aggressively towards your goal. Number 1, if you want to run parkrun, and so many people do. They love the social aspect of it. They love that it's a free race that they can join on a weekly basis, and it's something that can hold them accountable. At 9 a.m. Saturday morning, it's happening, and they've got to be ready for that. And that's great that it's working for them. The problem often comes that if you're training for a marathon, a half marathon, or another distance, but on a regular weekly basis, you go all out on a Saturday and run your fastest possible 5K, what you're actually doing is running too fast, too quickly, racing too frequently. And so you're not going to move forward as fast because you're not letting the training soak in over the weeks and months and then going at a distance, whether it's 5K or marathon. But it's also detracting. If you're going hard on that Saturday, it's also detracting from the typical Sunday specific long run. If you're beating your body up, and a lot of people will just say, oh, it's only 5K, I can run that as hard as I want, and then I'm ready for Sunday. You're not. And at worst, you're putting yourself into an injury risk zone where you don't want to be. And at the very best, you're reducing the quality of both the parkrun on the Saturday and the specific long run. And so essentially what you're doing, which we always talk about, is you're running both of them in the gray zone. The way that you can flip that, so you can go to parkrun, enjoy parkrun and the social aspect of it, the competitive side too, is to flip the week and run your long run on a Tuesday and your intervals, your faster running on a Saturday on a parkrun, and include parkrun as part of a bigger training session. And what that means is we can get the very most out of that Saturday. And as soon as you learn to be disciplined with the 5K parkrun, and then we're doing some training afterwards and before, what you're also getting then is enough recovery days ready to hit that Tuesday long run well. And then again from Tuesday to Saturday, enough days to rest, recover, active recovery, easy run, and then go again. Number 2, one of the great things about parkrun, and one of the great things about people that are regularly getting involved in parkrun, is essentially it's race day simulation. And so when those people who are regularly going to parkrun line up for the marathon, they're not as nervous or anxious as your typical marathon runner that is able to do 1 or 2 marathons per year, and so less race experience. And so we want that parkrun to simulate race day as much as possible. So we want to be warming up properly so that we can give our best performance in that 5K. And so you're treating it like a race. You're preparing, you're thinking, okay, when does the warm-up need to begin? What does that look like? For me, it's walking initially, lightly jogging, when the body's warmed up, some dynamic stretching, then some faster running, then some accelerations, getting my body to the point that I want to set off in the 5K, and then getting to the start line minute, 2 minutes before. Parkrun is very casual and very easy to do that, and then we're off. Point number 3, and this is difficult for some people, and what I often see is people are addicted to parkrun, and I think it's the best thing in the world. I think it's the best sporting initiative of all time in terms of getting people into running, getting people into exercise, and keeping people in running, which is also great. But as somebody who is trying to help people break through barriers, break through limiting beliefs, and run significantly faster, what I see if somebody is running parkrun fast too frequently is they've been running essentially the same 5K parkrun for the last 5-6 years and very little difference in the time. So maybe 5-6 years ago, they were at 21 minutes and they've only gained 1 or 2 minutes within a really long period of time, within 4, 5, 6 years. And if you think about it, of course, that's going to be the case, because if you're going out every Saturday and running as fast as you possibly can, I did exactly the same when I started running. For the first 2 or 3 weeks, I just repeated the same segment, just ran out, ran back, tried to run back faster in the second half, tried to beat my time from the day before. After 2 or 3 weeks, plateauing, and I've only just started running. Of course that's going to happen, because we're not letting the training soak in, we're not letting the body recover, so that when we really push in training and in the racing, the body is not ready to go hard again. So again, essentially what we're doing is loads of stuff in the gray zone, because our body is always beat up and never really fresh enough to push hard. So what we need to do, and again, it's difficult, but you've got to get used to this, is we've got to be disciplined enough. We've got to let the ego slide. The regular people that we're competing against, we're trying to run that 19 or 20 minute 5K, we've got to let them go, and we've got to get used to, if we want to keep parkrun as a regular fixture for the social element and use it to our advantage, we've got to get used to running at between 85, 90, 95%, so it's not an all-out effort and it's very much controlled. Now, if you get this right, it's going to unlock a whole new level of running, because not only are you going to be moving forward much more methodically in a much more smart way, you're also able to race more, and that extra racing is racing practice, the race day simulation, so you're improving at that, but you're also using races as high quality training sessions that are moving you forward even more. And you can get to a point, and I have got to a point, where I use marathons as training sessions. And so instead of running an all-out marathon and having a lot of recovery afterwards, I'll run that at 10% slower, and it'll be a really high quality long run. Think of it as race day practice. And if we can run that at 90% and then have 60 seconds rest and then be ready to go into a training session, you're in a really good place. So this leads me nicely on to point number 4. Take a 60-second rest at the end of that. So we're getting used to letting the heart rate come down very quickly within a 60-second period. That's going to feel like no time at all at the end of a 5K, the end of you running 20 to 25 minutes. But by week 3 or week 4, or even sooner than that, it's going to feel like a long time, and then you're ready to get into that specific training session. Number 5. Now I'm going to get to the specific sessions in just a moment, but we're going to then add a specific workout that is feeding into your bigger goal, your A goal, immediately after the parkrun effort. So what that feels like is we're controlling that 5K, but we've got that race day energy, that slight nervousness, anxiety, that we're in a race kind of situation working for us. We're having 60 seconds rest, and then we're getting immediately into a session. That's going to allow us to essentially run quicker than we would be able to on our own, and it's making us be able to run more volume at that faster pace, which is feeding really nicely if you're training for something like a marathon, half marathon, and even 10K. Number 6, we're learning to pace properly. We're learning to pace properly in all our training. Interval session is a perfect place to learn to pace. And if you do something like 20 times 400 meters, you have to learn how to pace it. Otherwise, you won't be able to complete the session. And if you think that you've been used to going to the parkrun, running all out, and that's been on the limit, 3rd, 4th kilometer gets a little bit harder, 5th kilometer, you can see the finish line, and then you're able to speed up. All of a sudden, we're gonna run that in a controlled way. So maybe that's at 10K pace, maybe it's at half marathon pace, maybe it's even at marathon pace. And so if your 5K pace is 3:45 per kilometer and your marathon pace for a sub 3 hour marathon is 4:15 per kilometer, all of a sudden that 5K at marathon pace feels incredibly easy because you know you've only got to run 5K of it and you're in this race energy, race simulation situation. So it forces you to think strategically about what you're trying to get out of that day, what you're trying to get out of that Saturday parkrun. You're going hard, but you're controlling the effort. And that's super important. And number 7, I mentioned it a couple of times, but we're practicing race day simulation and things can go wrong. So you might get to your parkrun, there might be 500 people there. And so it's really difficult for you to warm up and get to the start line with 60 seconds or a couple of minutes to go. Things will go wrong. And essentially that's what we're doing as runners. We're learning to deal with curveballs, learning to deal with problems along the way. You have to be pretty quick at running a marathon if you want to get to London Marathon and warm up right until the gun. You've got to be right at the start with the Africans in order to warm up until the gun. And so come race day, it's likely that you're gonna have to warm up and then get into the pen and wait 15, 30 minutes, maybe even 45 minutes if it's something like New York or London, and then gradually get into the race, warm your body up, stay calm, be under control, find your rhythm. Now here are 4 sessions, brilliant sessions that you can turn that parkrun into a great training day, into a high quality training day that feeds specifically into your goal. Parkrun training session 1. All we're gonna do, we're training for a 10K, but this will work whether you're training for 10K, half marathon or marathon. We're gonna run the 5K, the parkrun controlled at 90%. And as soon as we're finished, we're going to then take that 60 seconds rest and run another 5K at exactly the same pace. Now the second 5K is gonna feel harder because you're not having that race energy, you're not in that fight or flight mode, and so it's significantly harder to run that second 5K, but you've already felt for a considerable amount of time for the 5K how that feels, and so you're naturally in this groove, ready to run essentially 10K, 2 times 5K with 60 seconds rest in between at 90% of your 5K pace. Parkrun training session number 2. Now again, perfect training session whether you're training for 10K, half marathon or marathon, and you can also see how it can be adapted. All what we're gonna do, and I love this session, is we're gonna run the parkrun at 90 to 95%, so not an all-out effort. And what you're gonna learn over the weeks and months by implementing these sessions at parkrun is knowing that you've got work to do on the back end will allow you to be better at controlling the parkrun as an effort, not as an all-out race. And so in this case, as soon as we finish that 5K, 60 seconds rest, and then we're going into 5 times 5 minutes. And we're gonna run those at exactly the same pace as we were running the 5K for, so 90 to 95% of our 5K pace, with 60 seconds rest in between each 5-minute segment. Now you'll find that the 60 seconds rest in between the 5 minutes feels like a lot longer of a rest than the 60 seconds just after you finish that long 5-kilometer stretch in the parkrun. And that's great. That's exactly how we want it to feel. We want the heart rate to be coming down very quickly, and over the weeks and months, you'll see that heart rate recovery improving. What we're getting here is a nice, solid parkrun at 90 to 95% effort, and then straight on the back end, 5 times 5 minutes at 5K pace, or 90 to 95% of 5K pace again. Now you can play around with that. If the whole thing is at marathon pace, so you run the parkrun at marathon pace, and then you do the 5 times 5 minutes, marathon pace again, nice chunk of 40 to 50 to 60 minutes there at marathon pace. And then you can progress on and add some 5 minutes. So get to 6 times 5 minutes, 7 times 5 minutes, maybe even 8 times 5 minutes. That's a great session. Parkrun training session number 3. Now, this is a true test, and so you probably need to build up to this if it's new to you. But we're gonna do 4 times 5K, with one of those 5Ks being the parkrun. Now, I would suggest that you do the first 5K as the parkrun because the logistics are easier for you to start with everybody else, get into your rhythm, have that race day simulation, and you're not having to stress about time and worry about the logistics to get to the start line on time to start the second, third or fourth rep. And by doing the parkrun, the 5K effort first, what that's going to allow you to do is feed off that race day energy. Perceived effort is less because you're in that fight or flight mode. You've got that adrenaline working for you, and then you're into a nice groove. And again, as soon as you finish that parkrun, 60 seconds rest, and then you're doing the next rep of 5 kilometers. And so just 60 seconds rest in between the 4 times 5 kilometers. And I'd be running those at marathon pace. And I know that if I can go out there in a training session on trained, fatigued legs and execute 4 times 5 kilometers at marathon pace, I know that I'm in the shape to run a PB in my marathon. It's a great session, but more than that, it's a confidence booster that you can run half the distance or 20K at your marathon pace. Now, if that was a half marathon we're training for, I would adjust the pace to half marathon pace and just do 3 reps. And if you need to build up to that, start with 2 times 5 kilometers, then 3 times 5 kilometers. That's how you do it. Parkrun training session number 4. Now, again, you can turn this into a nice 10K session, half marathon session, or a marathon session. All we're gonna do is the 5K parkrun, so we're warming up, we're getting ready, we're running that at 90 to 95% of max effort. Then we're having 60 seconds rest and running 2 times 10 minutes at exactly the same pace. Now, if we think about this and think about the extreme, if you go out and run that 5K all out, then have 60 seconds rest and try to run 2 times 10 minutes all out again at exactly the same pace, that wouldn't be a great session. There's too much damage going on there, unless you had more to give in the 5K. So if you can essentially run 5K at 5K pace, and then 2 times 10 minutes at 5K pace just 60 seconds later, then of course that indicates that your 5K pace should be quicker, and maybe you need to focus on that raw speed and that speed endurance to get you running a much quicker 5K, which is going to improve your times across the board. And again, if we want to make that into a nice half marathon or marathon session, you can turn that into 3 times 10 minutes after the 5K or 4 times 10 minutes. Again, plenty of volume, lots of volume going quick, and we've got that initial parkrun working for us instead of against us, breaking down the body too frequently on a weekly basis every Saturday. Pro tips to finish with: don't skip cool down. And in actual fact, by doing the parkrun and then a session afterwards, it will get you into that interval day mode where you'll want to do a cool down afterwards, because you'll appreciate by this point how it leads to consistency in high quality training. Often what I'll see at parkrun is as soon as people finish, they're exhausted because they've gone all out, and then they'll get into a chat with somebody who they've not seen for a week or a couple of weeks. That turns into 30 minutes, and then the cool down is actually a walk to the car, not doing much. In actual fact, what we need to be doing is taking the heart rate down gradually, clearing that lactate, ready to go again on that Tuesday long run. Second point here is keep it as race day real as possible. Yeah, it's only parkrun, slightly more casual, doesn't matter as much, but it can actually matter as much as we want it to. And if this is race day simulation and improving your race day performance for your bigger goal, the more that we can simulate race day, so we're wearing the same clothes, we're going through the same nutrition practice, especially if we've got that volume working for us, all of a sudden we need to be thinking what we're eating before parkrun and what are we eating during to fuel the session. What that's doing for us is not just working to energize the entire session, but it's also stopping that muscle breakdown and enhancing, increasing or improving the speed of the recovery. And the third point is make it fun. The reason you're doing that, maybe it's a bit of competition, maybe it's great competition with a few people that you're constantly battling with. The more that you can make that fun, the more that you're going to want to do it. It's just about being disciplined enough not to go all out, but to judge that effort well so that you can put a session on the back end. And it will take some practice. Getting this done right first time is actually quite tough, because if you think about how you start a race, the vast majority of people go off too quick. In actual fact, with this, we want to be controlled throughout the parkrun and then throughout the efforts afterwards, throughout the interval session. So there you go. And if you want a couple of long runs or to improve your current long runs, they're on the screen right now.